If we're not learning and growing, then we're not living. Although we have more than one life to live, we must live every day. Welcome to Office Hours Celebrity Entrepreneur with the incredible hatted one. I was loving his hair last week. I think he's hiding it from me this week.
I don't know how to style it.
Yes. We are blessed to have two amazing guests on the Celebrity Entrepreneur with James Maslow show. They are akin to humility. They're blowing up on all the different platforms. So, James, let's bring on your buddies here, and I'll let you do the proper introduction.
I mean, they'll do a far better job of explaining their story, but these are my friends, the amazing Crash Adams. Guys, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Speaking of coiffed hair and looking good, I mean, they are literally suited up. I mean, I feel we're just dressed like schmucks today, but you know, at least we have good backgrounds. I'll give us that.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I almost hated putting the hat on.
Oh, really?
Man.
What kind of hat? The fedora?
Hair.
Didn't work. It didn't work with a suit, so I left it off.
Well, I want to start with you guys. Obviously, you guys are rising stars, and I've had periods in my life where I've had great success at a young age, and I lacked something very important, which was humility. And I'm curious where you're at in your career today. One of the things I love about James Maslow is his humility at such a young age. Are you struggling or at all paying attention to humility in your success? Is it something that you guys discuss? Is it a characteristic in which is playing an integral part in your rise to fame?
I would say yes. I think the answer is yes. There's always, no matter how successful we get, as everybody here knows, it goes like this. So you go through waves where you're at a down period, and when you're at a down period, fresh off of an up period, it feels like, what's going on? Are we washed up? Is this happening? This isn't working anymore. Where do we go from here? Like, I feel like every single entrepreneur is always going to experience, no matter what industry you're in. I think the number one thing for us is we always go back to a book that we read, and this book, it explains, I don't want to be cliche, but it really helps it really helps you manifesting your own reality. And this is something that we both believe, because on paper, I'm supposed to be an accountant, and you know what I mean? Like, but I get to do what I love every single day because of pure belief in myself, and because Vince purely believed in himself and me, and I believe in Vince. So at any moment where somebody gets too high, and we remember, because no matter what, you have those moments. We always remind ourselves why we're doing this, and the answer is to raise everybody's vibration and to show them that they can manifest whatever reality they want in whatever industry they're in.
See, David, look at that. Another couple of young people who actually have read at least one book. I can't say they read on a regular basis, but they've read at least one. No, these guys are very smart about their business. What is the name of the book, by the way?
The book is called The Complete Reader. It's by an author, Neville Goddard. It's a collection of books and it goes through everything and just explaining we call it the law of the universe. Basically how we're all energy. If you break down every single thing into its purest form, it is vibrating energy. And if you can tune into the vibration of that allows whatever you want to happen, and you align yourself with that vibration, that will happen. So it gives a lot of tips and tricks on how to get into that mind space, on how to be closer with that vibration.
I mean, David and I speak about that quite a bit. That's actually one of the first conversations we had several years ago that brought us together, realized we were running on similar vibrations, similar frequencies. And I think that it's extremely true. The older I get, the more I believe in that whatever you put out there, the world is going to conspire to bring back more of that to you. And that's both positive and negative, right?
Yes.
If you're a negative person surrounded by negative people and negativity, the world is going to conspire to bring you more of that. And I know I've certainly been there at times in my life. And then to have other people tell me, wait a second, maybe this isn't the best circle. Maybe this isn't the most healthy situation you can be in. And so I've worked very hard and continue to work hard to surround myself with people like you guys, like David as my friend and mentor, to constantly uplift me and motivate me, remind me that I can do whatever it is that I believe in. And from that belief, the world conspires to make it happen, which is amazing.
And of course, you put in the work. You put in the work as well along, because a person who is achieving whatever they want to achieve is a person who is actively taking steps to become that. For sure.
100%. I think that's a good clarifying, almost caveat. You can think success all you want, but if you don't do any work, you probably won't get there. But along with the work, you have to start by believing you can get there, right? Because again, whether you believe you can or can't, you are right. I love that. I mean, speaking of humility, I mean, there's nothing more humbling, I think, than being an artist and trying to continuously put out new great music, new art. I mean, even when you have a hit, what's the guarantee you're going to go make another one? And even if you do, what's the guarantee that the world, your fan base is going to care? So what would you say is your process with that, right? Because I know you guys have had some amazing success. You've popped with a couple of songs this past year. You've been touring all over the world, including a couple of shows with the great band Big Time Rush, which is how we met. But then you go back to the drawing board. So what's your process when you go back in and say, hey, we're starting from scratch now. We need to come up with some new original concepts and songs. Like, where does your headspace go to create that?
I think that we found that the songs that have performed the best with our fan base have been the songs where it's literally about our life or what we've been experiencing in the moment. So if we're not making music that we can put out there and be like, oh yeah, this is exactly who we are, that's got to be number one. That's number one to making music.
For sure.
Right.
For sure. I would say another thing we do is we call it auditing our business. We constantly, probably weekly to monthly is we'll go back and we'll say, okay, where are we at right now? Where do we want to go? What are the processes that are working well for us? Where are the processes that are not working well? Where are our holes given the team that we have in each position? And are these holes going to stop us from getting to the next place that we want to go? Or are they holes that we can just say, no problem, let's deal with this at the time that we need to deal with it? And that's kind of like our process will go in terms of business wise. Our process music wise it changes all the time, but I think when inspiration hits, double down and keep going until that inspiration is gone.
Even if it's 9 p.m., James.
Yeah, even if it's 9 p.m.
Occasionally you'll catch me awake past 9 p.m. with the right information. By the way, there's the accountant coming out. They audit their business, David. You don't see many artists saying that.
I picked up on that, and guys, super impressed that you even know who Neville Goddard is. And as the chairman of Napoleon Hill Institute, hopefully you've heard of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, well aligned in the seminal personal development, laws of the universe, laws of attraction, and been mentored myself as the chairman of the institute by some of the greatest minds in the space, including Bob Proctor, who's one of my closest mentors. And I also have a book that I would definitely want to send both of you, Connected to Goodness, Manifest Everything You Desire in Life and Business, that was based on what I had learned from Goddard and from Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, and of course Goddard and many others along that line. I was wondering, obviously you have a connection to the universe. You have a connection to the inspiration and intuition, as well as the pragmatic side of being accountants by trade with intellect. A lot of times younger people today who are in your space and in your place are resistant to some of the laws. And it seems as if it might be too trivial or woo-woo, or maybe it's just too old-fashioned to take, Henry Ford's quote of whether you think you can or you can't, either way you're right, or what you can conceive, you can achieve. For you, where did the open-mindedness come from to, like James, be so receptive to real traditional or spiritual frequencies, as we all know, or vibrations, where most people your age, they're not ready yet. I'm simply, when they read my book, I'm planting seeds under trees I may never sit under. And by the way, I was not ready when I was your age. I was the most resistant of all people when I was your age. So I'm curious what it was that allowed you to have such an open mind.
So
you want to go first? Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I was fortunate. My family's very close with each other, and we've always been under the mindset of helping each other get to where we want to go, no matter what it is. My uncle was actually mentored by Bob Proctor. So from a young age, Bob Proctor we'd always be around Bob, and he would give my uncle, who would then
What's your uncle's name? What's your uncle's name?
Mike DiMuccio.
Mike DiMuccio. I think I've met Mike DiMuccio. So great. He was Bob Proctor is also the biggest donor to our charity. So
Amazing.
Very small world. That's amazing.
So that's how it kind of started with me. I think I was always kind of fortunate enough to be conditioned at a young age from Bob and from my uncle that they would always instill, no matter what, you got to believe this. You got to believe this. So like I was like maybe 15, 14 years old when I watched The Secret. So I think from me, the conditioning of that allowed me to sort of dream bigger. And then when I finally started to step into, all right, let's try this out. I started to see quick improvements. Like for example, I wasn't a singer. Like I started singing in 2019, and for me, or 2017. Sorry, 2017. I started singing, and for me, it was like, all right, well, I was a DJ. I have no voice. How am I going to approach this? And I started taking small enough strides that I started believing that, like, wow, I can do this. I can do this. And then I would fall asleep at night just visualizing in my head. And that was kind of my story. Introduced me to Vince.
Yeah, I mean, so I was one of those people who, when I was a kid, actually, I used to lay in bed and visualize things that I wanted to happen in the future. And that used to be a routine that I would do accidentally. I didn't even think about law of attraction, manifestation. I didn't know any of that stuff. I would just do it because imagination. And then as I started getting older, 14, 15, 16, 17, I guess the overall sentiment of the people that I was hanging with was, oh, you can't do that. What's visualizing going to do? You can't get to this point. You can't do that. So you actually start to believe that when you hang out with people that do that. Finally, Raph introduced me to the Complete Reader, and I'm sitting in the car and he's making me listen to this. I'm going, come on, man. Like, what is this? What is this really about? And it took him, I remember we were in the car for like 2 hours. He was like, no, you need to listen to this. Like, we need this. If we're going to do this, we need to make this happen. You need to believe in this. And he hammered it into my head to the point where I was just like, okay, it's so easy to just be like, no, you can't do this. No, I can't, whatever. Why don't I just flip my mindset? Why don't I just try it? And I tried it for a bit. And then I realized, I was like, oh, that happened. And my mindset was like this 2 weeks ago. Oh, that happened. And it just kept compounding to the point where, for example, last year we were in the Philippines and we were playing a show at a mall. There was a bunch of people. And I was watching myself on YouTube performing that like a couple nights ago going, damn, when I was a kid, I imagined myself doing that exact move, turning around, looking at the drummer, spinning, and looking at the crowd that we saw in the Philippines. And I was like, damn, I should keep doing this.
Yeah. It's just real quick, James. It's interesting because my wife force-fed me the movie The Secret. And I was so resistant. And finally, the first time I watched it, I said it was the stupidest thing. You can't just dream about having a Ferrari. You got to go work for it. And I ended up on the Transformational Leadership Council with Jack Canfield, wrote a book with him. Bob Proctor and I became very close friends. My closest mentor, Blaine Bartlett, his best friend, one of my other closest mentors. And then to cap it off in the manifestation process, on Netflix, you can see Beyond the Secret, the sequel to The Secret, with Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, myself, playing by all the people. And my wife still laughs at me all the time. Aren't you glad I made you watch that movie and made you watch it again? And so to think that, you can come full circle with an open mind, open heart, and open hands. And there's always somebody like a Bob Proctor that's a seminal connection to us all. So Different journeys, same coincidences. James, what's your manifestation story?
Well, the one thing I got to push back on with a secret. Hear me out.
Yeah.
You know that part where they're driving along in the parking garage and they say, if you imagine there's a spot, have you been to the Grove on a Saturday?
Yeah.
That one doesn't fucking work. Okay.
It works for me. You got to believe more.
I believe plenty. All right. I'm also a realist.
It works for me. I'm putting it out there right now.
This is why I moved out of
It worked
LA.
last night. I was at Crystal Cove at Javier's, and nobody. I parked right in the front.
Yeah, it's called valet, David. And you paid for it. Bougie some. No, look, I think I love what Vince said is that, you know, he was skeptical, like we all were, right? I really, when people would tell me this when I was younger, I was like, frou hippie doesn't apply to me. And then, you know, to your point, you're like, well, I tried it. And I think if there's any takeaway from this conversation, if anybody is listening to this, whether you think this applies to you or not, what is the harm in giving it a try? You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to. You literally can just change your mindset and believe you will succeed. Believe you are capable and able and deserving to have whatever you want, but actually try believing it, right? Because what's the harm in that? Maybe nothing happens overnight, but I bet if you keep believing it, something will. That's the purpose and the point here. And it was a slow journey for me. A slow journey of, okay, and we kind of believe this, but I didn't give it a lot of attention or a lot of thought. But I don't know. I don't know if I have a moment where it clicked, but I will say that generally speaking, the more I believed in myself, the more I have seen other people believe in me.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it also is an equal and opposite effect too, that the moments where I was hesitant or didn't believe in myself, then other people kind of looked down on me, made fun of me, didn't believe in me either. And I pivoted when I was in theater school. I went to performing arts schools from the 8th grade on until I graduated high school. And there was no option but to sink or swim in that regard when I was auditioning as an 8th grader for these black box and main stage performances at the San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts, which is one of my favorite schools I ever attended. It was, you know, we didn't have sports teams. So it was essentially like auditioning for the varsity team to go out for a lead. And if you're not a senior or a junior, people would laugh at you and scoff at you. And I kind of realized real quick, well, shit, if I want to have any chance in doing this, I need to believe I can get there. And I would walk in with confidence and rehearse and train as if I already had the part. And I got one of the leads. I got the lead in Grease playing Danny Zuko, I think as an 8th grader, or maybe it was a 9th grader, very early on. And it was one of the first moments where I attributed my own belief in myself was the very first step and an absolutely paramount and necessary step, or else it would have never happened. And I've applied that time and time again. In fact, David, when we chat offline, I'll tell you about, you know, learning to leverage debt and taking big swings. I had a crazy idea recently to pivot this to a little bit of the entrepreneurial side of the conversation. I've done well in real estate over the years, but it's always been like, okay, buy a house and maybe I live in, then fix it up, then rent it out or sell it. Okay, maybe do another one. I'll learn about a 1031 exchange. Okay, do one. Now I've got one rental property, now two. And that's how I've started. And then I had a crazy idea. I'm like, wait a second, much like, you know, the baby boomer generation that is selling businesses that are profitable and great, the stupid, boring businesses that just make money every month. I'm sure there's a lot of people with catalogs of real estate that also don't have anybody to pass them down to. Why can't I just go to somebody that's got 10 houses and make a single exchange instead of doing one? And I just got the green light. So Dave, we'll talk about it. But it's this crazy belief when I brought that up to my own business management that represents some of the biggest stars in the world, some of the most successful financially and career-wide people ever. I brought it up to them. They went, huh, we've never done that. And I went, fuck yeah, that's exactly why I want to do it.
Yes.
And I can hear David already just applauding me behind this. But point is, the more I have this energy, the more I believe in it, the more I believe in myself and come up with crazy ideas. You know, 9 out of 10 of them might be dumb, but when I feel one that's like, wait a second, this energizes me, I run with it. And I think that's back to, you know, what you were saying, Rafe, is like you double down when there's inspiration. Yes, that applies to music and creativity. And I think that should also apply to our hopes and dreams and our businesses. When there's something that you see a path and you believe in it, man, every time somebody tells me no and it can't be done or hasn't been done, it tells me that I'm in the right place and I'm doing the right thing and I want to double down.
Somebody, I was in a session the other day and one of the producers made a good point. The music, at least for the music industry is the great race for second place. where the first person who usually tends to come up with an idea that breaks the mold, they're usually called crazy and it can't be done until they do it. And then when they do it and it's successful, everybody tries to be the first person to replicate that idea because they know it now works. And it's almost like that you let the guinea pig go first, they prove the concept, and then you rush for that proof of concept. Which kind of, for us, the way we've always approached our music is, and this comes down to a standpoint, when we were trying to blow up on social media, this was around COVID time, where everybody was inside. We were like, all right, everybody's on their phone. The traditional artist, at least indefinitely for the next X amount of time, is going to be wiped out. There's no shows to play. There's no there's no music videos to record because you're not allowed inside with more than 5 people, where we were. And then there's like certain things, all the traditional musician stuff is going to be dead. So there's now a space that we can go in, at least during this period of COVID, and just try things and just break the mold of what a traditional artist would be. So that led to a lot of our social media content. If the content that blew us up, if you look at it, it's not just standard, I just made a song, lip syncing our song in front of the TV, or in front of the phone. It's almost like public pranks mixed with music, and whatever we sort of seen that we saw was becoming successful. How do we apply that to our music niche? Because it hasn't been done before, but it's been proven in other niches of social media marketing. And I truly believe we were one of the first to do it. Not saying that indefinitely, because who knows, somebody else may have come up with something before us. But I believe we were one of the first to do it, which was a double-edged sword, because sure, here we are where people are finding our music and they're loving it now. But at the same time, the music industry is thinking, oh, these guys are content creators. And these guys, they're not musicians. Even though we had all the music done first, even though the only reason we're making content is to spread the music that we had done and to go on tour and to do all that stuff, everybody thinks, okay, no, these guys are musicians, they're content creators. And sure, until we're not, until we're on tour with Big Time Rush and there's 6,000 people in front of us loving our music, and there's people waiting in line to take photos with us, and there's people telling us how they streamed Optimist and it's changing their thinking, and now they're approaching life a lot more positively and all this kind of stuff. You're crazy until you're not.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, I think we'll just finish on that point, because it's true in entrepreneurship and music, art, all different industries, careers, and jobs. Pay attention when people are laughing at you, scoffing at you, and making fun of you, because eventually they'll applaud you, as long as you enjoy what other people don't like or love, or other people don't see in what you do. And I applaud both of you. And I'm sure plenty of people laughed, scoffed, and made fun of you along the way, as I do James Maslow, Crash Adams. Thank you guys so much. Please promise me you'll come on our other shows. I can't wait to see you guys on tour. I've been
We're in.
Yeah, this is actually
we're always in.
Yeah.
Always in. I hope we touched on some points that you're hoping your viewers will take and bring back to the real life.
Surprisingly, some real deep, great nuggets. So no surprise to you, but thank you so much. And anyone in the long lineage of Bob Proctor's philosophies, mindset, heart set, and handset are always welcome into our family. True celebrity entrepreneurs. James, thanks so much for bringing your friends.
Guys, it's an honor. Thank you for jumping on and joining us. I hope to see y'all soon. I'll actually be in LA this weekend. I'll shoot you a text if you're around.
Oh, amazing. Likewise, it's an honor for us as well.
All right. See y'all soon then. Thanks much.
See you guys.
There's such good energy, man. And there's such
Dude, that was surprising. I'm like, when I've never had kids that young talk about Neville Goddard. I mean, holy the moly. Anyway, takeaways of the day. What are you thinking?
Man, there's so many more questions that I could ask him, and we'll have him on again, I'm sure, and keep this conversation going. But I love that some people initially, and to this day, refer to them as content creators, because they are. In fact, I wanted to encourage them. That's a compliment, because of course you're musicians, right? You're creating content around the music. To me, that's a given. But to be a content creator, and furthermore, to be marketers, and you heard him say it once or twice, they're acutely aware that they have to be the creators of the music and the content and the marketers. And in this day and age, I think that's an extremely important lesson for any business, but especially any aspiring musician. Labels just don't do what they used to do. They don't come in and do everything for you. They do very little until you succeed, and then they'll come in and back you. So I want to commend them for how aware they are of where they are in the industry. And even after popping, you can tell they're like, well, we haven't made it yet. We're still working our way up, which is something that I share and even you share. It is a big old bite of humble pie that we take pretty much every day, but to some degree gladly, because it keeps us learning and growing.
Yeah. And if we're not learning and growing, then we're not living. And although we have more than one life to live, we must live every day. And to that measure, I love people who study history and the historical figures and content creators of our past, because human nature never changes. And those who are wise enough to look backwards to accelerate forward are, for me, well beyond their years, what I call the old souls of the industry. Crash Adams are now part of our family. I am blown away. I got to be honest, Mr. Maslow. I just am so grateful. And thanks for joining me,
brother. Talking a little bit. Thanks. Bye.
Great. God bless all of you. Have a great day.